Hey, I'm composer Caleb. Welcome back to Shadow Work. This is the series where I go through my new album Shadows, one track at a time, telling you the stories and breaking down the production behind each track. This is Transmutation, and it's the lead single off of Shadows. As for the meaning of this song, it kind of changed for me throughout the process. I mean, it started at this raw, just feelings that I had at the time, and building it out of a church bell, it kind of felt a little like a synchronicity that sat right in the middle of my own questions. So I felt like that was a thing that I had latched onto and resonated with early on. But over the last couple of years, as I developed the song, I got quite a bit more deeper into Jungian psychology. And the song and the album really as a whole took on this whole new meaning. And it became my own version of the alchemical process, transmuting lead into gold, starting in that sort of dreamlike, abstract place, descending into unconscious territory, hitting a confrontation at the climax, and then this sort of free-flowing release after that. So it's cool that I was able to sort of build in this sort of symbolic dream wisdom into the structure of the song. I'm also so excited that Transmutation is becoming a music video dance film that I co-directed with my friend Sam Stevenson. We got to bring some of that Icelandic inspiration alongside of Jungian dream psychology, symbolism. Oh, it's really cool. I can't wait to share with you more. You're gonna have to wait a little bit longer for it, but yeah, it's turning out really, really cool. It actually all started without much intention at all. As a lot of my songs do, they kind of begin in that improvisation world and then they start to take on a life of their own. So this one was just a jam session actually on my OPZ synthesizer. I love this thing. It's amazing for traveling, and that's where the actual inspiration for this song came from. It was on my first trip to Iceland back in 2024. And I was in Reykjavík with my family, and we got to tour the bell tower that's downtown Reykjavík in the iconic church, right in the middle, the heart of the city. The bells there ring at certain times of day, and you can actually pay a small fee to climb the tower when it happens. And I had this app on my phone called Gauze Field Recorder. It's really cool because it sort of emulates a tape style workflow, so you can do like half speed and double speed, things like that, some filtering, some light sequencing. And so I had the chance to actually pull up my phone and record the Carillon bells as they were going off at the top of the hour, and it was amazingly loud. I couldn't believe how loud they were up close. And the view from up there, man, it was amazing. Looking out over the whole city, seeing the mountains, the water, it was just so inspiring and incredible. My wife actually took a picture of me looking through the glass, and I just loved how it obscured who I was. It had so much vibe and atmosphere to it. And after some light editing back at home, that photo actually became the album cover for Shadows. Later that day, I ran the bell recording that I took on my phone through some light processing and resampled it back into my OPZ so that it could become a playable instrument. And that night after my family had gone to bed, I built the bones of the song right there in our Airbnb, overlooking a street of the downtown nightlife in winter chill. I believe it was just that bell playing this little repeated pattern and a simple groove built underneath it. And that was day one. And then on the flight home, I was filled up with all this inspiration from touring Iceland. It was a short trip, but man, it was so good, so inspiring. And on the flight home, I took out my trusty OPZ and I built out the patterns that would become the main structural elements of the song. And so by the time I had landed, I had already kind of felt like, oh, I feel like this has got some structure. I feel like this is something that I want to work on more when I get back to the studio. So I've got the OPZ here, and I found the actual sequence that I was working on the flight back home from Iceland. So I thought it would be cool to see where the song was at before I even brought it into Logic. Let's walk through these sequences. So this first one has got the structure of the opening. And I believe I exported some of these individual instruments separately and then resequenced them and extended them quite a bit more in Logic. This second one adds in some of the hi-hat percussion. Also has the felted piano little layer that's going over top. That was actually recorded initially on this upright piano here before the trip. I had sampled it into the OPZ so that I could have a felted piano on the go. And this one single pattern actually has the bones for the build and the drop. I fleshed it out much more later on. And then the last pattern is the post-drop outro. So then after that, the song went into sort of what I would call a fermentation stage for the next couple of years, actually. And I'd come back to it in 2 or 3 big sessions. The first one, starting by importing those OPZ sequences into Logic, cleaning up the timing, working on the arrangement, just building out an overall structure. I knew that I wanted it to be a pretty long song. I wanted it to be a slow burn and a long build, to give a lot of time for both ambience and more of a dance type of structure. And around that time, I was really into the electronic group Kiosmos. I think you could hear that influence, especially in the percussion and overall vibe, the types of synths that they use. But one of the things in particular that I learned about their production that inspired me was the way that they filter percussion elements as sort of a way to build and change dynamics and make transitions in songs. So I'll show you a little bit of how I did that in this breakdown. Let's take a look. Alright, so here we are in the project file for Transmutation, and I want to show you how I produced the drums and percussion. So I've got this main drums group here, and this is a composite of some kick samples. Looks like this is a virtual instrument, and then there's some loops as well, some of which I believe I created on the OPZ and then imported into Logic for some arranging. And then what's happening here is that out of this drums bus, I'm taking a send and I'm putting that back through this filter group bus. And in this, I'm running it through a Moog multi-mode filter, EMT 140, and a Moon Echo for some lo-fi grit. And basically the technique that I'm using here is almost a DJ filter-like kind of thing. So I'm automating the levels in and out of the primary drums group and the filter drums group. Sometimes they're layering on top of each other, and then sometimes I'm just swapping them in and out. And I use that to create really natural sounding transition elements and more tension release in the dynamics. On top of that, I'm also modulating the cutoff of the filters. So you can see that here as an example. Yeah, and I'm also doing that on the hi-hat loop itself to even give more dynamic tension and release. So let's take a listen to what that sounds like. And then again over here. So this is starting with the filtered source. Cutoff is going up. And then slowly the full frequency drums are going to come in. And here's another instance where I'm using it for a more extreme sweep style DJ effect. One other quick thing to note that I'm automating is, I believe it's this noise gate threshold on the hi-hats. So the regular hi-hat loop, it's got quite a bit of tail on it, But in this section building up to the drop, I wanted to increase the tension and just kind of compress things. So that's where I use the noise gate to actually kind of tighten up the tail of the release. And that's why you'll see this gets automated right here. So those are a few of the techniques that I used for making the drums and percussion on this song. Structurally, I wanted to keep things simple, but let the song evolve. I mean, it starts slow and ambient and builds into this massive synth climax that sort of overtakes everything and then spirals back down and returns to the beginning in a way. So a while later in the production process, I got to visit the Vintage Synth Museum in Los Angeles for another project. And while I was there, I thought, you know, I'm around all this amazing vintage gear. Maybe I'll see if I can double a couple of the synth parts for this song that I was working on, which was Transmutation. And so one synth that completely blew me away was the Roland RS-505 Paraphonic. And that's the synth that's used in the big drop of the big synth. Man, that thing is incredible. It just fills the entire spectrum. It's just super saturated. I hadn't heard anything like it before that I had played. It was just so kinetic. And it was a bit quirky too, you know, some of the oscillators were out of tune a little bit, and so as I played the keys didn't actually correspond with the right pitches, so I had to kind of guess and sort of like fudge things to get it to play the right progression that I wanted. I thought that was a fun little detail. I think I took it back into Logic and did a little bit of retuning later on and chopping to make things line up perfectly, but yeah, super cool to discover that synth. I've never heard about it or played it before. And right next to that synth was the classic, the Minimoog, and it's a synth that I've always wanted to play, so I just had to include it on this song. So that's where the huge sub bass after the drop comes from. It's a big part, I think, of what makes that section feel so classic and danceable and warm. I mean, you just can't go wrong with a Minimoog. I also used my own voice and breath in the production, partially to tie into that personal growth and transformation theme, and partially to put in some human weight into a song that sits in some pretty heavy minor tones. There's some pitch shifting in the humming there, and turning the breath into a bit of a percussion instrument as well, which is something I'm really proud of. The production process took a long time. There was lots of short little return sessions because the song is just so dense. There's so many layers, so many tracks, and it's pretty long too, and I really wanted to make sure that none of the sections felt like they were lacking or none of the transitions felt like they were missing something. I really wanted to put everything I could into it. There was one section that I really wasn't sure about for the longest time. It was that little arpeggiated piano string section after the drop. At first I was thinking maybe I would get live players to do that, or I would, you know, have a more virtuosic piano part there. But what I ended up settling with was this arpeggiator feature inside of Native Instruments Noir, and it really helped build this chaotic, hyper-arpeggiated orchestral sequence with the programmed stringed arpeggios stacking on top of the piano. So on this section, I'm using two instances in this one contact player for both the Noir patch and this Cycles patch. And then on the strings, I'm actually using an arpeggiator plugin. Just helps give it a little bit of that randomness to what I play into the keyboard, into how it's then translating it to different voicings. I'm using Filter Freak here to play with the string texture, making it a little gritty, bringing the piano in and out. Yeah, what was one of the most challenging parts for me to figure out became one of my favorite little sections of the song, actually. The final mastering was done by Zeno Mikure out of Berlin. He's worked with some of my all-time favorites, and I just think he did such a great job of balancing a song that's really dynamic and ambient, but gets to this full dance electronic moment. I think he really nailed the dynamics. I'm really pleased with the final result. Near the end of finishing this one, I hit a point where I just felt satisfied. You know, I'd spent months listening to rough mixes over and over, jotting down little notes while I was out and about, and at some point I realized that I had reached the edge of what I could do with my current skills, and that pushing further would probably just be overthinking it. I'm really proud of this one because it represents the maximalist side of what I can do. A lot of my work leans in that more improvisational space, more ambient, sparse, mistakes sometimes even left in on purpose to sort of give that human, ambient, minimal sort of touch. And this one's the opposite. I really tried to pull out all the stops, so to speak, and I'm really pleased with the finished result. Well, that's Transmutation. Au and Larus Occasus are already out on streaming, and Transmutation is joining them today, so you can find that wherever you get your music. I'm rolling out the album one song at a time, paired with these videos about a month or so apart, so keep an eye out for the next one. The full album is also still available through the Cleveland Public Library's People's Playlist. The link's in the description. And I've also got it up on Bandcamp if you want to purchase the whole album that way. Thank you so much for listening, and I look forward to seeing you in the next installment of Shadow Work as we continue to dive deeper into the album.